You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hi, and welcome back. Last week, I shared more about what I've been up to in these quieter last few months or so. Thank you so much for listening in. If you love this episode, there are two things that would be so helpful to me and this podcast. One, if you haven't yet, is to leave a review. These take less than a minute, but help get this podcast into the ears of more listeners and women it can uplift. Or if you've already left a review, share this episode on Instagram and tag me at @HiJessicaJohnson so I can personally thank you and reshare. Thank you for being here, and I will see you again next week. Whenever I work with women in this capacity, and so I hope you're going to be as excited about it as I am, and I want to share more about it in this episode. So what I put together over the past several months is this private coaching program, a 12-week program, how to create your brightest life or business, one-on-one with me based on the principles that I write about in my book, Your Bright Life. Now, when I was thinking about this, I felt like it would be amazing to have 10 different private one-on-one sessions, so calls with me and you, and each one of them to kind of a theme or focus. So we feel really guided and like there's a clear container versus sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I go to do coaching with someone, it can feel a little bit nerve-wracking if I don't know where the conversation's going to go that day. And so I really love to have a theme and something to talk about. And what I wrote about in my book, Your Bright Life, is how the creative process of bringing a business to life or a podcast or a book or any other dream, moving to a new city, a new country, all of things that I've done, and maybe one of them speaks to you, is there's kind of a process you go through. I believe it's a 10-step process. And so each one of those 10 calls will tackle one of those topics. And I thought today maybe I'll tell you a little bit about each one. So the first session is all about dreaming. It's about allowing you to come up with the biggest, brightest, highest vision for your life that you can imagine. And maybe that will include a business of some kind that you've been thinking about. Maybe it's launching a podcast or writing a book. Maybe it's just getting back into your art. Maybe it's becoming a mother. Maybe it's moving to a new place or making any other change in your life. But I know so much goes into even being able to name what those things are for ourselves. This is always the place that I start whenever I'm feeling lost about my next chapter. I think about what is the highest, most beautiful vision I could imagine for my life. If I could choose anything, what does it look like? And so our first session will be about helping you articulate that for yourself. Maybe these are things you've never been able to tell anyone before, because they felt too big or too outlandish or your social circle wouldn't get it. But deep inside, there's this voice inside of you saying, you are meant for this. That maybe there's this idea that you cannot let go of, that you keep coming back to, no matter how many times your life changes or different jobs you choose or get rid of. There's something in your soul that knows that you're meant to be on this one path. And so this first session is really about giving you the permission to dream big, to name those things for yourself, and to create a crystal clear vision of, if anything was on the table, what your life would look like. Because once you know that, you will be amazed at how your entire life can begin to shift. Because all of a sudden then you know what opportunities to say yes to or not. You know what rooms and people and relationships are going to serve that or not. You are able to start seeing the synchronicities that life will put into place to support that. You're able to choose the beliefs that get you to that person and that evolution. You're able to let go of the other ones. So it starts this whole cascade that we'll work through in subsequent weeks, but it really begins with getting clear, because if you don't know where you're going, you can't get there. You get a lot of other muck and you get someone else's life, but you don't get the one that really lights you up. So that's session 1, which is all about dreaming. Session 2 is about deciding. Okay, so if you create this really big, beautiful vision for your life, the next step, I believe, is to choose what you're going to work on first. So what dream is most pressing to you now? What creative project or business do you want to start now? What's the thing that is like speaking to you and feels like it's calling forth some new chapter, some new evolution? If you don't make that decision, what happens is you might have this really beautiful vision for your life, but you are directing all of your energy into 20 different directions. And so it's like you get an inch in each direction instead of 20 inches in one direction. Instead of checking off one dream, making one dream come true, you're kind of just diverting your energy between a million different things. And so you feel defeated because you're never making any progress on that one thing that actually matters the most to you right now. So it's not about crossing off the other dreams. Actually, what you'll find is actually achieving one dream is going to get you further on all those other follow-up dreams than you could ever imagine, because you're going to have become someone else by the time you get it. You're going to have made different connections and relationships. You'll have a different level of confidence and financial abundance. So we help you get really clear in session 2 on what is right for you at this next stage. And if you've ever felt this lack of clarity or indecision, I get it. I have so been there. And because I've been there, I've learned so many tricks and tools around how to get out of that space and how to actually get clear and hear what your heart is saying. And so I'll share those with you and we'll work through that in that session as well. Session 3 is all about embodying. So once you have this vision for your life and you've decided what to pursue next, you're going to need to know who you need to become to get that dream. Any dream requires you stepping into this new next level version of yourself. You'll need to know what she thinks about, how she talks, what her own inner dialogue is, what her habits are, how she holds herself, how does she dress, like how does she operate in the world. If you had $1 million, I guarantee you there are going to be things about her that you can pinpoint. So, how does she go about her day? What does she do for her routine? What does she wear? What is her home like? So you getting crystal clear on this woman that you're going to become helps lay the groundwork for actually practicing stepping into that embodiment and becoming this person. It's not about being perfect, right? Because that is the whole journey. If you were already like this person who had the $1 million business, you already would have all of her behaviors. So it's really about this evolution of a little bit more every single day, becoming more of that person who can hold a best-selling book or an audience of hundreds of thousands of people at a speech, or have people tune into her on a podcast every single week. So we want a clear picture of what this woman, what this next level version of you is like, so you can practice what it feels like to have your dreams come true all around you. I write about this in my book, but the first time that I practiced this and saw how powerful it could be is when I was dreaming of moving to New York City. And for the first time in my life, every single thing around me, I had become a reflection of how it would feel to move to New York. So the songs that I listened to put me into this feeling of walking through the city in the fall and carrying my groceries up a studio walk up. I could imagine how it would feel to be in a New York City high-rise building going to work every day. My passwords reflected New York City. Just everything in my life was all tailored to being about this dream that I was cultivating. And so I was always in a state of feeling like that dream was on its way. And I truly believe practicing that, putting myself in that headspace, allowed it to feel completely natural. When I finally got the job offer in New York City, despite not knowing anyone there, when I finally moved in, I was able to not self-sabotage because I had been practicing what it would feel like to be a woman in New York City for months. And so the same thing for you in whatever your dream is. If you get to know this person, it becomes a lot easier when your dream arrives to be able to hold it, to feel like, of course this is in my life. I've been rehearsing this forever. So we'll talk about that in session 3. Session 4 is all about doing. So if you feel overwhelmed thinking about how to get from where you are now to where you want to be, we're going to break it down. I have become a master, I will give myself credit for this, of breaking dreams into really small steps that feel doable and clear and tangible, because I've had to for so many different dreams, whether it is the business, the book, the podcast, the moving, even living in Europe half of the year, which I do now. It really takes getting clear, because it can feel so overwhelming if you're looking at this huge jumble of next steps and it's like, where do you even begin? I will help you get clear. Regardless of what your dream is, we'll make a path forward that you feel confident in, that you can start getting that momentum going with. Because once you get the first few steps out of the way, the momentum starts to carry you. You get excited and it becomes easier and easier to take the next steps, because you will realize you can do it. You might just need someone to help break it down so it feels doable. So that's session 4. Session 5 is all about believing, choosing the empowering beliefs that will get you where you want to go and reframing the ones that limit you. So I truly believe, and I have episodes on this if you want to listen to it, but a belief that you have influences the actions you take or not in your life, and those actions you take or not influences the results that you get and the life you end up with. So if you have really empowering beliefs, like you can do this thing, like you're beautiful, you're confident, you're naturally like a money magnet, that is going to affect how you show up completely differently than beliefs like you're not beautiful, or money, you repel money, or nothing ever works. Like even in my body, I feel the difference when I say those words into how that feels and how someone would show up feeling that all day, every day, and thinking those thoughts in the back of their head. So session 5 is all about getting really clear on the beliefs that run your life and run in the back of your mind all the time, just like tapes playing on repeat, and reframing them to beliefs that do empower you to get the life that you want. I love this work. I think this is one of the most fun and fulfilling things to talk about, because when you really see what's playing all day in your head, you will understand why you have the life that you have. And you get to choose. That's the most amazing part. So we'll talk about how do you actually start to believe better beliefs, right? Versus just like putting a nice affirmation out there. How do you become someone that really believes these things and stacks evidence for them and starts to feel like they are the new norm and starts seeing life respond differently when you believe different things are possible for you. So that is session 5. Session 6 is all about reframing fear, because don't we know that fear is part of the process to bring in any dream to life, right? It is scary to put yourself out there, to do something different, to tell people what you're up to. I so get this. I think fear has been part of my journey every step of the way. But one of the things that separates me is that I just learned to work with it, right? I've just learned to not fear fear. And I will show you how. We will take any of the fears that you have that have been holding you back, and we will show you how to not worry about fear so much, but to allow it to be part of your process, to point you towards the things that really excite you or are like part of your soul's path to learn and move through, and to just take action anyway. So Session 6 is a big week, but if you feel like you have a dream and it's fear that's holding you back, we'll work through it and you will feel like, okay, you can do it. You'll have me on your side and we'll get through it. Session 7 out of 10 is all about detaching. So with any dream, once you start making moves towards it, there can be this tendency to want to push and force and grasp, and things start to feel really heavy. And what I've learned is there's this magic to bringing any dream to life in detaching, in doing what you can do, but giving the rest up and allowing life to surprise you with the timing of your journey and the synchronicities needed to make things happen, and for life to introduce the right people to your path at the right time or the right opportunity you didn't expect. Every single dream anyone has ever had is built in part by these chance meetings and random conversations and quote unquote lucky breaks. So this session is all about learning to trust the process, releasing your grip, allowing some magic inside your creation process, and trusting the timing of your own journey. It feels so much better once you do. And ironically, things start to work better when you do. So that week is all about that. Session 8 is all about receiving. So it may feel like if you got the 6-pack abs tomorrow or won the lottery, that you'd have no problem welcoming those things in. But the truth is, us humans do all kinds of funky things when we don't feel worthy or ready for the things that we believe we want. And so session 8 is all about how to prevent self-sabotage and instead become someone who feels worthy of that best-selling book, of that chart-topping podcast, of the love that you've desired to receive, of the abundance that you've dreamt of. It's an amazing week that allows you to go from someone who thinks maybe you'll get that thing or thinks it's reserved for someone else, and instead makes it something that you feel worthy of and gives you the confidence to know you deserve to be in that room, that your voice is important, that you are changing lives, that you have a story that only you can tell. And your work, as Amanda Francis says, is of high service and worthy of massive compensation. So session 8 is all about receiving. Session 9, second to last session, is all about shining, how to get comfortable taking up space, owning your voice, and shining. Because don't we all know that sometimes as you start to pursue that next dream and become this more embodied, more confident version of yourself, the people in your life may have opinions about it. They may sense that there's something different, and it may not even be bad, but it may just be different than what they're used to. And so they can start acting a little funny as well. So session 9 is really about how do you recalibrate when or if that happens, and how do you get comfortable in your own skin. So even if it does, you know you can handle it. You know that you're here to do something big, and you feel confident shining and showing up and doing so. And then lastly is session 10, all about pivoting, because there will come a time in any dream when your instincts say it's time to dream again. So how do you get comfortable making a change, giving yourself permission to do so, not feeling shame around wanting something different, something more? This is something that used to freak me out so much. I remember when I left my corporate job and I was about to go from a job in tech marketing to wellness, and I just had so many fears around pivoting. What are people going to think? I'm changing industries, I'm changing jobs. Like, it just went on and on in my brain in this spiral, and I've noticed that come up anytime I make a big change. And so I, of course, having faced that, have learned how to navigate it, and I'm happy to share with you why it's actually so beautiful and part of your evolution to be able to grow and to change into something else and to get bigger and go from the caterpillar to the butterfly and have as many evolutions and dreams as one lifetime can hold. You only get one, so as Mary Oliver says, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild, precious life? Pivoting session 10 is all about giving yourself that permission to change when your intuition says it's time. Okay, so that is what the 12-week private coaching experience is all about. You get 10 calls, as I just outlined, plus a few extra weeks to just integrate, to give you a week off if you need to schedule something else that week. Just gives a little bit more of a buffer. And then you also get unlimited messaging directly with me, one-on-one privately, for those 12 weeks. So my intention with this is that you can change the trajectory of your life forever. I truly believe that's possible. That the work you can do in these 12 weeks will completely change what you think is possible for yourself, and therefore what you actually get out of life. The beliefs that you have, the fears that you overcome, the way you think about boldly claiming what you want, the roadmap you get to go for it, and the way you can learn how to apply that to any next dream, I think can change your life forever. That's my truest intention with that. So if you are interested in private coaching, as I mentioned, I only open up a few spots per quarter. Go to hijessicajohnson.com/coaching, and there you will find all the details. You'll be able to submit a little application that tells me who you are, what you're looking for, and hear if there is still an opportunity for coaching, or jump on the wait list for when there is. Thank you so much for listening to this. If you've made it to this part in the podcast, gosh, I'm so just thrilled and excited to be offering this. It's a dream that I've had for a long time, as I mentioned, thought about doing, wondered how it could work, and just really feel is like my life's work to be able to share this message. I feel so passionate about it. It's in this book that I've written an entire book on. And now I'm just so excited to apply it to you and to your life, like the dream that's in your heart that maybe you've never even shared or really thought about seriously going for. Like maybe now is the time. If not now, when? You only get one of these lives, and I would be so honored to support you on your next evolution if this speaks to you. Thank you so much for listening in. If you love this episode, there are 2 things that would be so helpful to me and this podcast. One, if you haven't yet, is to leave a review. These take less than a minute, but help get this podcast into the ears of more listeners and women it can uplift. Or if you've already left a review, share this episode on Instagram and tag me at @HiJessicaJohnson so I can personally thank you and reshare. Thank you for being here, and I will see you again next week.